Big Phil, we're live. How you doing today, man?
Oh man, I was doing well. That got me tight. No, we're going to do it live.
I know. Lindsay, our producer, said, "Hey, you want to go live?" And we're like, "Hey, why not? Who cares?" So
Oh, I
let's
don't
do it,
care.
man.
I make mistakes everywhere I go, so if I make something today, big deal.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No issues. And we're going live today really because breaking news earlier today, which is pretty
Yep.
exciting. Earlier today, I mean, within the past 41 minutes to be exact, the Dolphins receiver room is absolutely having a new look here this offseason. The Dolphins have traded Jaylen Waddle to the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos receive Jaylen Waddle and the Dolphins' fourth round pick. The Miami Dolphins received the Broncos' first round pick, the 30th overall, along with their late third and fourth round picks in this year's NFL draft. So the Broncos got their dude. The Dolphins, man, this is going to be a totally new look team all the way around. You would have thought that Malik Willis, first-time starter, all of that, being the future of the franchise, or at least the current state of the franchise, having a guy like Jaylen Waddle around would be a good thing for him. Halfley and the boys decided that they're going to move him on to the Denver Broncos. Big guy, your reaction here to the Jaylen Waddle trade to the Denver Broncos?
Well, a couple things. First off, Malik Willis, button up, big boy. Could be rough. It's like they're rebuilding the team, fixing it, and that's why they're doing this with Jaylen Waddle. And for the Denver Broncos, my first thought is they're very close, as we have seen, and would have got it done. I think if Bo Nix, they at least would have got to the Super Bowl if he didn't get hurt. And I think too, when you watch them play, and we've talked about it, boy, it's not like that receiving core, which put up some decent numbers when you talk about it. But it's not like they're so good. The defense is focusing on this, and you're allowed to do other things. And I think that go to the New England game. I know it was the weather and all that was rough, but did not separate from the defensive backs in the game.
Right.
And so this is one way to do it. This makes the whole group better. That's why I think it's a little risky, but it just tells you about the Broncos where they think they are.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. The Broncos feel pretty confident about the team that they have currently, and they feel like that, hey, add a Jaylen Waddle to the roster now, along with, I think really what you mentioned, though, too, is pretty accurate, right? Courtland Sutton and Troy Franklin are essentially their two outside receivers.
Right.
And they're taller, longer guys, right, that aren't necessarily known for their ability to, like, separate and all that kind of stuff within the slot. Now you add Jaylen Waddle to the mix that can play outside, that can play inside. Now you can utilize those guys and their length and their size on the outside with Waddle and really put some defenses in tough positions. They still had little Jordan Humphrey on the roster as well, Marvin Mims, Pat Bryant. So all of these guys together, they got a good mix. Like you say all the time, big guy, you want to see a basketball team in your receiving core, and that's what they got.
Yeah, I heard that statement, or not heard it, just one time talking with Mike Lombardi, and he said it, and I said, wow, that really makes a lot of sense. You just want something different from every position. They can do that. Jaylen Waddle, last year, 6 touchdowns. So they'll know how to give him whatever's best for him, his main talent. And, of course, Davis Webb, now the play caller and all that. I put a little pressure on him. Sean Payton, I'm sure every once in a while he's going to second guess some of those calls. That's who he is. But yeah, a good trade probably for both, and maybe more. Not a gamble, but it's the Denver Broncos going, we're all in, and this is the piece that was missing, and this should propel us forward even better than last year.
Yeah, so 2022 was his breakout season where he had 75 catches, but he had totaled 1,300 yards, had 8 touchdowns that season. This past season now in 2025, played 16 games, had 64 receptions, was targeted 100 times, had 910 yards, 6 touchdowns. And, of course, like the Dolphins, they had a few moments where it was a little rough for them offensively, where they couldn't find their groove and just their team in general. But, of course, when they were in stride offensively, it was guys like Achane, it was guys like Waddle making big-time explosive plays within that offense. And, yeah, you got to think, right, just the mixture of offensive guys they already have with their roster, that Jaylen Waddle is going to fit into this group really well. And also, like, for this team, curious to see now where they kind of can go in the draft with, what the emphasis is. If they feel confident about the offense now and can really say, hey, we're going to go get some guys and focus on the defensive side of the draft. But there's no doubt that the receiver room is kind of crowded actually at the moment. And remember, they still have Evan Ingram, who's a dang good tight end as well, who kind of plays like a receiver. Yep. So there's no doubt the Broncos have a lot of weapons at their disposal offensively that.
Yeah, big deal from them. I'm sure Bo Nix is sitting back and today goes, yeah, baby, I like that.
Yeah.
For the Miami Dolphins, I think one of the things, first thing, and I'm saying it's the first pick or whatever for them, but they got to make sure their offensive line is a little better, more fortified, ready to go, whatever you want to say, and protect the new quarterback down there, Malik Willis. So that'll be interesting to see too. But I'll be very surprised if Miami doesn't draft somewhere fairly high an offensive lineman.
Yeah, it's a good point. And now let's go to the next news or breaking news that happened yesterday, which is crazy because it does seem like, we've already done so much in just a day's time. But the New York Jets are finalizing a deal that are going to send their quarterback, Justin Fields, to Kansas City. And, of course, pending a physical. But Justin Fields moving on to Kansas City. Again, the team that is trading Justin Fields, essentially going out of their way to help the player find a landing spot that he feels comfortable with, right? So it happened with the Bears, happened with the Steelers. Now it happens with the Jets. And Justin Fields finds his new home in Kansas City. And, of course, Andy Reid loves these type of projects, right, for quarterbacks and really helping them reshape their careers and just kind of how they view themselves. Your reaction when you heard that Justin Fields is being traded to Kansas City, big guy?
Well, first, good for him. He needed to get out of there. He's not going to fit what the Jets want at quarterback right now. We got Geno Smith, Brady Cook, who they got last year. I don't know if he was a free agent or a late pick. Can't remember. But he's basically there. So you know what they're trending towards and what they want to do on the offensive side. Justin Fields, all year long, I just kept going, what are the Jets doing? I mean, I thought when they picked him up and signed him to that contract, I go, I like this because I thought they would have a unique offense. Maybe not unique, that's not the word for it, but one that would really fit who he is. And I never saw it in preseason. I didn't see it in practice. And I sure as a heck didn't see it during the season. Mm-hmm. So there he is. I want to see unique plays for his ability. And man, listen, he is big. He can really run. He can break tackles. He's really a borderline running back who's playing quarterback. Right. And even in the pass game, there's certain things he can do. All quarterbacks can do. I never even saw that either. Now he was careful when he played. He was always careful not to make turnovers and all that. But good for him. Hey, his role with Kansas City, well, it's 4th and 1. Send in Justin in there. We're going to run another quarterback sneak. I mean, it's going to eliminate some plays by other guys, but he's going to get regular snaps during the season, even when Patrick Mahomes, if he's healthy and going, because, he can be, he's in the backfield. We're going to snap it to him. A lot of things you can do with that, getting him under center, thinking it's going to be a quarterback run, a quarterback sneak. And, Andy Reid, he's going to come up with something there in that coaching staff that can fool the defense. So that's a lot. Yeah. Good for Justin Fields.
Yeah, it's exciting for Justin Fields, the person, of course, for Andy Reid. I'm look forward to kind of seeing what their plan is of attack for him offensively, if it is something that is designed a little bit more to him and his skill set. The truth is that the Chiefs need a restart on the offensive side anyway, even with their star quarterback and Patrick Mahomes. So they kind of need to kind of break away from, what made us believe the Chiefs at this dynasty right now, I think. With Justin Fields now, he's surrounded by a pretty balanced group of skill guys, right? They got Kenneth Walker here in free agency and signed him. They got Amari DiMarcardo, who is, I think, a very talented running back out of Arizona that not a lot of people are aware of. Brashard Smith, going into his second year now at SMU, very talented running back as well. So the Kansas City Chiefs really did a great job of improving their running back room that was clearly lagging a little bit last year. And now they surround these guys with their speedsters on the outside with Worthy, with Tyquan Thornton, with Rashee Rice obviously coming off of injury. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out for them moving forward. And yeah, he's going to get a lot of reps because Patrick Mahomes is hurt. So he's going to get many opportunities in the Andy Reid system to be groomed in this Kansas City offense.
Andy Reid is going to fit the system to the QB. So look for a lot of bells and whistles.
Okay.
And it will look different for sure. And, so Kansas City, after last year and how the team, man, it was lackluster. We could see it almost like, wow, they don't even have the talent anymore to be who we think they're going to be.
Yeah.
But there's enough moves and enough energy probably now since they didn't make the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, the injury, Travis Kelce's back. So we'll see a motivated team, I think, and showing a different phase of who they are this year,
right?
Especially on the offensive side.
Yeah, and for Justin Fields last year, right, had 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, was sacked 27 times. A few of those games, too, really got beat up a lot. And at times kind of got caught holding onto the football a little bit too much, right? But it just didn't work out for the New York Jets, right? Had too many things going against him, right, to not help him as far as that goes. As you see here in the bottom part of the screen, Sims Complete is now streaming on Fubo TV, baby. All right, thank you to Believe Network and FanDuel. This show is brought to you by FanDuel on the Believe Sports Network. Let's go back, though, real quick, big guy. I forgot to mention this earlier. Thank you, Lindsay, for reminding me. Just going to show you the FanDuel Denver Broncos odds here real quick before and after the Jaylen Waddle trade. Before, Super Bowl odds 22-1, AFC Championship game 10-1, AFC West champions plus 230. Now after the trade, Super Bowl 19-1, AFC Championship plus 950, AFC West champs plus 200. So pretty big deal, right? For just a trade like this for a receiver and how that kind of bumps their numbers according to FanDuel and what they believe the impact could be for that star receiver. So pretty cool right there to see that. So thank you, FanDuel, for the update on those odds for the Denver Broncos moving forward. Big guy.
Never too early to talk about Super Bowl.
That's right. Never. Never.
So
as soon as we crown the Super Bowl champion, we're already talking about next year, man. So it is amazing. Big guy, you always mention that too. It's just like, can we ever just enjoy the team who won the game for more than a day?
Yeah. Oh, we got to get some new stuff in there, well, whatever. Yeah. So, hey, look, good for everybody, for Jaylen Waddle getting traded. I'm sure he's got to be excited about going out there.
Yeah.
And also just for the Kansas City Chiefs, I just feel like we're going to see a team that has more energy this year than we saw last year. So
yeah, no doubt.
Playing in a tough division, that's no doubt about that. But good for Justin Fields one more time.
Yeah, Andy Reid is known for having some tough training camps, and I'm sure after last season, this is going to be another tough training camp for this team, right? And what they do preparing for the season. Let's go now, big guy, to some of your quarterbacks that you watched on film, and just a little teaser, right? Because Big Phil loves teasing. Loves teasing next show.
Really?
Hey, next week, we're going to rank the quarterbacks 1 through 5. Big Phil. Let's see what he thinks. All right.
Who are you imitating?
I don't know. But either way,
Damn.
we are going to rank our top 5 quarterbacks. I shouldn't say our. I'm going to rank 5. He's going to rank 5. We'll see what happens.
I'm not ranking my top 5.
Okay.
No, we didn't say that. You got to pay attention to me when I talk.
Listen, Phil, you don't pay attention to yourself when you talk. So, but yes, continue. What were you going to say?
No, that's it. I got 5 guys, but they won't be the top 5 ranked. Or I'm going to do that next week.
Phil, you got to listen. I didn't say that these are going to be your top 5. I just said next week we're going to rank top 5 quarterbacks.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, hang in there, Phil. I appreciate it.
That's why I didn't pass a few grades growing up. I didn't pay attention.
Hell yeah, that's right.
All right, so go ahead. Who you want to talk about first?
Let's go with Taylen Green, big guy. You've watched Taylen Green on film, of course, through his combine, and maybe a little Matt Sims letting you know that he's kind of talented, right? Let you know that ahead of time, you got to keep an eye on this guy. Now, as far as projection goes, he's not a first rounder, but he is kind of an interesting case study as far as his career, how it went, his coaching with Petrino there in Arkansas on the offensive side, his build, right? There's a lot of things to discuss, and I think that's why he is an interesting prospect. What jumped off the film for you when you were watching Taylen Green of Arkansas, big guy?
Well, he's 6'6" and 224, so that catches your eye right away. You said it, coached by Bobby Petrino, And then when you watch the Arkansas offense, you go, wow, this is an offense that has it all in it.
Yeah.
And, they could – it's – so I think his throwing kind of caught me by surprise a little bit.
In a positive or a negative way?
No, positive. I mean, It's a little, tight or whatever. But as I was telling you earlier, I think there's teams out there that are looking for the third quarterback on their roster.
Right.
If you're going to do that, which I've always talked about and believe, get a guy that's physically really talented, that there's a big upside to him. And that would be Taylen Green.
Yeah.
In his running, but his throwing and the offense that he's going to see all these. He's going, oh, wow, I did that in college, when he starts seeing what's going to be put on the board as a pro. So, yeah, I like that. I like the fact that he had to read 1, 2, 3, did it, throws pretty well on the run. Yeah, I would say his mechanics throwing the football, usually you know how you and I, we're going to say we at least want 8 of 10, just to put a number on it. Well, he's about a 5.5 or 6 right now. But, man, it only takes a little bit, and he's going to be a different quarterback. So, I liked him. If you're looking for that third quarterback, which I've talked about many times through the year, to where you see one day he can definitely be the backup, and then if he has to play, if it's a couple years into his career, he has a chance to have success.
Yeah, and he's an interesting guy to evaluate too, because you essentially know every time that you put on the film, they're going to lose the game, right? I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. They only won 2 games this year. There's a lot of games, though, are just one-score games, all right, that are tight, and including a Texas A&M football team, 45-42, Tennessee, 34-31, right? So it's like, now they played Notre Dame, and, well, that was scary how bad it was. But either way, this is a guy that really was kind of playing right at a tough position every single week. And there's other notes, right, and stats that kind of pop up, right? And you kind of look at his season totals for rushing, 139 carries, 777 yards, right? Yeah. So that was a big deal. And you're thinking, okay, he's a scrambler, all that. He had 9 carries for 151 yards against Arkansas State. Right, average 16 yards per carry, had a long of 64 in the game. Oh, hey, it's Arkansas State. All right, well, how about this one? Okay, Ole Miss, 14 carries, 115 for a touchdown. All right, that's Ole Miss. That's the SEC. He also threw for 305 yards in that same football game against Ole Miss. So the guy's, tallying up almost 450 yards of total offense himself against a team that's playing in the college football playoff. That says a lot to me. As far as his ability and his raw talent, especially with the fact that they had trouble protecting him at times, right? And, of course, the team just, in some instances, gave up so many explosive plays, it was almost impossible for them to kind of keep up and play that type of style.
Yeah, I actually had contact with him and everything before the combine. Yeah. It was over. I texted him. I don't know what I said, like, oh, my God, that was unbelievable.
Right.
He did at the combine with the jumping, the running, the 4. I think it was a 4.36 and the 40. But as you talk about him and all that, the Bobby Petrino offense, that's going to make his transition into the NFL, I think, a lot easier. And the other thing is, Matt, we all know Coach Petrino. I don't think he had kid gloves on talking to Taylen Green. That's just not who he is.
No.
You're going to get it done by God, or he's just that kind of guy. So he's, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
This is the third quarterback, or we're looking at it differently, but we're seeing, I think, some physical traits that give him a great chance to have success in the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
One time I texted him and, this and that. And I said, I played 15 years in the NFL. And his word was, I know who you are.
Yeah.
Whatever. I said, oh, good. So some of these young kids they're not great with the history of the NFL, but apparently he is a little bit. So, but no, but I'm really excited about him just to see. I'm following pretty close where he's drafted, who he gets, what team, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Sorry. The next quarterback that we'll talk about that you've watched a little bit on film is Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik, a guy from a year ago, was a first rounder, right? And top 10 pick, all that kind of stuff. And this is why I laugh too at people that are projecting about next year's draft and how it's the best class ever, yet no one can actually name any of them when they actually mention that. Next year is a better class. And it's like, well, and they just say Arch Manning, that's it, and they move on. But either way, it's like Cade Klubnik, a great example, a guy that was a first rounder, now not exactly sure where he is going to fall. I think for a lot of these quarterbacks, there is like this huge gray area or a big gap between the top guys and then everybody else in the field, even if some guys do think highly of certain quarterbacks. But Cade Klubnik had a tough year, kind of got beat up a little bit. Clemson in general as a football team was super disappointing because they are going to have a lot of guys that are potentially drafted here this upcoming weekend with Avion Terrell, basically all the guys on defense, right, that they have with Parker and with West. So they're loaded, or Woods, excuse me, with their defensive front. But the offense in general struggled. Finished the year with 65% completion percentage, 2,900 yards. He had let me make sure that I'm reading this correctly. Yeah, 16 touchdowns for 6 interceptions, and really just could never find his groove, right? So if you're looking for great Cade Klubnik film, you got to go back a year, right? But still had some good moments this season. Thought he played well against Duke, played well against Boston College, played well against Florida State, played well against Louisville, but a little bit of a different game there, like where he showed game management. And you're thinking like, okay, those aren't great teams. And I understand that, but just like given the circumstances of how those games were going, I think he played extremely tough and good game management style of football that applies to the NFL level. But big guy, your thoughts on Cade Klubnik and what you saw from him on film?
Well, it's this. I like a lot of things he does as a quarterback when you watch it. So you know he understands what to do and all that.
Tons of experience. Tons of experience, right? He's got a lot of snaps.
This is the good stuff. So that's one. I think he moves pretty well. Probably not giving enough credit how he moves around and runs when he has to. He is a good decision maker. And, 65%, I was surprised they only completed 65% because they throw 100 screens every game. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's screen, and I understand that too. But he did get pretty good protection. But what really, I guess, brings it down for me, I just think his motion is a little concerning to me, and you know how we are. But the arm strength is a big deal. I think it's not NFL caliber. I was a little surprised. I expected more as far as the throwing goes. Yeah, good decisions, makes all that's all great. They throw the screen game and all that. But, I just didn't see wild throws.
Yeah, I got you.
And then finally, I watched them when they played that game in Yankee Stadium. The weather's cold and all that stuff. He really struggled throwing the ball. Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about decision making. I'm just talking about throwing it. Yeah. I see a great incompletion. No. And that when I saw that game, I just went, wow, okay, not surprising, because I already watched like 3 or 4 before that and kind of saw these what I call, the lack of power in throwing the football. That would be the easiest way for me to say it.
Yeah, I understand. I get you. And it's not to say like he can make all the throws. Can he make the specialty throws and all that stuff? Like, that's a little bit TBD, I think, at times. He does, when you watch him on film, come across a little bit robotic, I feel like, with his throwing motion. But I thought at the combine when he threw, you could see that he is starting to kind of work at smoothing it out. I thought he spun the football better. So I thought those were good signs for him kind of trending in the right direction with the NFL football, with kind of learning a little bit more about his craft and getting away from, some of the amateurism of throwing and all that kind of stuff. So I think he did at least show up in a different sense that excited me when I saw him at the combine. There's no doubt.
That's good. Yeah. Listen, I judge the combine a lot. And, I said, okay, it's against there and it's just a few throws. I mean, just rip it in.
It's, go ahead.
I didn't get to see it because I was busy. So I kept waiting and I'm looking on my computer. I can't find it, whatever. So you just made me madder that there's another guy I can't watch at the combine. So a few highlights. I think I saw 3 Drew Aller throws and that was about it. But, whatever. But you're saying some interesting things there. But I think, the NFL football is better than the college ball to throw, as we know. And, I'll keep a close eye on it and see how this offseason goes. But there's too many guys out there kind of like him, but I think they're physically a little more talented. And that's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, Taylen Green. Would you take Cade Klubnik over Taylen Green, Matt?
Ooh, it kind of depends on what I'm looking to add to my quarterback roster and what I already have. It's like if I feel like I need like a safe bet, I'm going to go with Cade Klubnik. If I feel like I can take a little bit more of a risk and saying, hey, like I feel really good about number 1 and number 2, then yeah, I'm gonna take Taylen Green and just say, hey, follow what these guys do. These 2 guys are pros, But if I have question marks about maybe my backup not being ready to go right away, it's like, I don't know. I maybe would go with like a Cade Klubnik, just knowing that he's got a little bit more experience. I mean, this guy has had 1,400 pass attempts in college football, so that to me, I think, speaks volumes to his career. Taylen Green's not that far behind either. He's had a lot of attempts and throws as well. Yeah. I'm just saying, as far as just, offensive structure and expectations, I don't know. I just think with Cade Klubnik, it's a tough choice. So I guess it depends on just the situation that I have with my quarterback room.
Yeah, listen, I'm doing it this way.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking at both and going, they're third string quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yep.
They won't be backups unless there's an injury. And, many things can change that too. So when I kind of think of it that way, I just go, maybe even if it's all equal and everything, I think I'd still go with Taylen Green because he has the running ability.
Yeah.
The size is a big factor, and he makes it look easy.
No, you're right. You're right.
60 yards, and you just go, damn, he didn't even try.
Yeah. Well, that just shows you too. My answer was full of shit, because I think ultimately deep down it's like I would pick Taylen Green, and I just didn't phony up right there when he asked me. So there you go.
Okay, I like it. Yeah. Honestly, that's a good thing, man. No, it's okay. And and of course, when I say the word Taylen Green, I haven't seen a name or one article or nothing. Oh yeah, he blew up the combine and whatever. Oh, he didn't throw it as well as we want. He would, and that's the other thing about the combine. Man, come on. You guys are writing. Don't be judging the damn thing on completions.
All right, here we go. Stay focused. Nobody gives a shit. Okay, moving on. Here we go. We got Garrett Nussmeier.
I care.
Yeah, we know. Like I said, nobody cares. Garrett Nussmeier, right, is the next guy on your list, and I appreciate you talking some sense into me too, because you're right. I probably would have taken Taylen Green over Cade Klubnik, but I appreciate that. That's what happens in things, and that's what happens in draft rooms too. When I just felt like, oh, Cade Klubnik, it's like, oh, it's safer. No one's going to critique me.
Well, I'm not going to tell you the player or whatever, but Bill Parcells once made the guy who was really going, you got to take this guy, stand up on the table and tell us if it doesn't work out, we're going to fire you. And the guy had to stand on the table. This is why I want him and whatever. And the player that he picked turned out to be really good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you could do those things. This is probably, luckily for Bill Parcells, I don't think there was an HR department, so he got away with it. But all right, let's go now. Let's go now to Garrett Nussmeier, right? Another interesting prospect, right, from this past year, and a guy too that it seems like is picking up steam again, right after the combine. Understanding that he got injured in camp and all that. That's another thing too about. Big picture wise, just side note here, not necessarily all focused on Garrett Nussmeier, but college football. We got to start to actually announce injuries. All right. It's unbelievable. It's borderline unethical, right? For college teams to be like, yep, everybody's fine. And then the game starts and it's like, oh, there's 7 players out. Well, we didn't want to give a strategic advantage. It's like, come on. It's ridiculous. So with Garrett Nussmeier, we had no idea the extent of his injury. It happened in camp because in college football, they don't have to tell you anything. And for him, battled through it to some extent, finished the year with 1,900 yards, 67% completion percentage, a 12-5 touchdown to interception ratio. And another guy, too, that has really played a lot of football, again, throughout his college career, through his time at LSU. Last year, of course, was his really good season where he had 64% completion percentage, threw for 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And that's where really the hype began for him in this upcoming season to be drafted. Nussmeier, even for me last year, I thought was a little too reckless with the football at times. I know it says 12 interceptions. It probably could have been closer to 25, but he definitely has an attitude, good pocket presence, doesn't really give a damn. He will cut it loose and make the big time throws, sometimes to his own detriment. So he is an interesting prospect, listed at 6'1", 205 pounds.
Wow. Well, that's good. Listen, now that we knew the injury and all that, as I watched it, sometimes I could see it in games.
Yeah.
I could see whatever. And, when you're a little beat up as a quarterback, it does a lot of things. And one of the things it does, of course, your throwing might be affected, but the way you play and the decisions are different. You play when you're beat up, you're thinking a different way to win the game. And that's maybe I got to be careful and this and that, whatever. But things that I loved about him, and I got to look at some of them.
Yeah.
Very good arm. Very good. Can make all the throws. And not only can he make the throws, he makes them with no effort. I mean, we used to be in the NFL. We always said, how do you do on the 12, that 12-yard out?
Right.
Well, that's like nothing to him. He threw it every game, even with the injury, and it worked out really well. Gets rid of the football really quick when he needs to.
Yep.
He can throw under pressure. I like the fact that he's a body thrower, Matt. In other words, his whole body is a part of the throwing motion for him.
Yeah.
So that's going to hold up well and it's going to really help him in the NFL. That's for sure. Because you got to put a little more, and sometimes you just got to put more effort into the throw and throw it with more force to get it past a defender or to a receiver who's only going to be open for a quick second there.
Yeah.
So I think he moves around well. This was the second time that I've actually gone through and watched him. And the second time it came to me easier. I go, wow, look at that. Look at this. I know there's a lot of things that weren't good, but it caught my eye.
Yeah.
So he, with a little practice time and whatever it goes on, he is almost ready to be a backup quarterback to me in the NFL.
Interesting. And the thing is with Garrett Nussmeier, and why he's an interesting prospect too, big picture wise, that just like he never really had a game right this year where it was like, wow, like it's unbelievable. His best game of the season, probably right as I quick scan here again, the opener against Clemson, played solid in that one, 28 of 38 for 232. And that one, 73% completion percentage, had only one touchdown, but it was a really tight, high-pressured football game where both LSU and Clemson thought that they were on their way to going to the playoffs, right? Little do we know that both of them would end up really having a tough football season. But for the stakes that were involved in that game, I thought he did a good job of playing through that with the injury. Thought that was very impressive. The other game that I think he played solid in and had moments of, had made some good throws against Florida. That was another one. And then the South Carolina game, played pretty solid in that one, right? 20 of 33 for 254 in that game with 2 touchdowns, but also 2 interceptions. So, that's a little bit of Nussmeier's positive and negatives, right? In these past 2 years, there's a lot of positives. There's no doubt. The negatives are, well, what do the negatives look like considering that he was battling through injury? The positives, again, too, even though last year he was healthy from the majority of it, there was still a little bit of a recklessness to his play and his style. But at the same time, like you're mentioning, big guy, for a backup, you want that, right? Like you want a guy that's going to go in there that can win you the game, right? And manage it, something that he'll obviously adjust to at the NFL level, but definitely can make the big time throws you need as the backup to win games.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And it could go anywhere. It's no right and wrong with this. In other words, you could have somebody there as the third quarterback, and he could be number 7 that gets drafted just because it's kind of tight. A lot of the same or different qualities in each guy, and it's what fits the team the best. And people have a different way of judging, so that'll be interesting about a lot of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, no doubt. So, big guy, we got now. Our next quarterback that we're going to break down. This is Sims Complete on the Believe Network, brought to you by FanDuel. We got Ty Simpson.
Yep.
Ty Simpson, who is, pretty much outside of Mendoza's kind of like everyone's realizing, oh, yeah, he is pretty good. So that's exciting. Really? He really is one of the few people, too, and we'll talk about another quarterback as well that Christopher Sims, your son, my brother, is very interested in from Texas Tech. But this is another guy like him that I believe really had the team kind of on his shoulders the entire season. And really, it's unbelievable the amount of pressure that he had. One, they couldn't run the ball worth a damn. And I'm putting that politely. All right.
It's awful.
2, he got hit a lot. And despite the fact that they had a quote unquote good offensive line, they did seem to have some struggles in certain weeks with protecting him consistently. Right now, when we get to the season, all right, everyone talks about the 4-game stretch of Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee. That's exactly what they should do. Now, the problem is that they forget about he played great against South Carolina the week after that. Then he played great against LSU the week after that. And now, statistically, is it sexy? No, it is not the sexiest stat line in those other games in South Carolina, LSU. But damn, if he didn't play tough and gritty and just could game manage it the way that he did, those would have been easy losses for them. That could have easily have been a 5-game losing streak for them going into Oklahoma, where eventually Oklahoma just said, enough of this. We're going to smack you around and beat you up. And that's what happened. But Ty Simpson's film is as impressive, maybe more impressive than Fernando Mendoza's if you line it up straight up throughout the season with some of the throws. And again, what he's asked to do week in and week out with their offense.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Ty Simpson, it was just this. You play well, we win. If you don't get it done, then we got no chance of winning.
Yeah.
And it was brutal. You know, you are allowed to keep a tight end in the block sometimes. We don't have to send everybody out. And you're right.
And Cuevas was a good tight end too. So, like, they had guys, you know, they had a good skill group.
But he got killed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a wonder. And then, you know, he got beat up. He got hurt. And then he stayed in there trying to play. And towards the end, it was like, oh, wow. Yeah. If I started from the end and came back, I go, I don't know if I can even watch anymore. And all of a sudden, oh, wait, we got, like you said, this great section of play by him. But he's athletic as heck. He's got a really strong arm. You know, he can make all the throws, aggressive decision maker. I mean, he threw a lot of footballs into some tight spots, but that's how they won when they did. The wide receivers got it done, and he got it done. And I guess you can give some props to the offensive coordinator. But yeah, the injury, that was a big deal. And he got beat down. And I know I've said this before, I don't care. When you take a beating as a quarterback, okay, and you can't recover through that next week, which he had that problem. Yeah. When you can't recover, then you take another beating. Now, oh man, sleep becomes hard. You're taking medicine to help yourself, which makes it worse. You're going to lose weight, which he talked about that he did. I don't remember. Yeah.
Had some intestinal issues that he was battling through as well. Started losing some weight. And, you know, that is probably why, especially after that 4-game stretch where you really did start to visibly see him kind of look more worn out as the year goes.
No doubt.
Now, my one thing about that, too, is kind of like, because I'm a huge Ty Simpson supporter. I've been banging the drum for Ty Simpson all season. Even after they lost to Florida State, I was like, he was one of the best players on the field. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, for him, I do think about that, like, big picture, like, okay, you know, is that something that he brought upon himself, the stress of it? That's something that he's got to learn to manage moving forward in the NFL, because it's not like the NFL is more relaxing. It's not calmer, you know, like, it's even more demanding. So I think for him personally, finding a way to compartmentalize what is actually asked of him, right? And not feeling the weight of everything on him. Now, I think in Alabama, that was inescapable, right? Because it really was on him. But just a thought to kind of keep in mind, I think, for the player moving forward.
Well, the last thing for me is, you know, having that upset stomach, intestinal things you're talking about. Yeah. I know what it is. And every time I got the pills to help me, they would give me, make sure you eat a lot before you take them. Because if you take them first, it kills your stomach, whatever. So,
well, that's not a problem for you. So we're good. Yeah.
It's about time you said something funny. That was good.
Hot damn. Hot day. He teased me about my food, Diana. Unbelievable.
But, you know, I did see, I'm going to give him a little credit, or not credit, but whatever. Dan Orlovsky today says, you know, the more I watch Ty Simpson, the closer it gets to Fernando Mendoza.
Which bothers me, too, because it's like he's been working on ESPN college football all season long. It's like, Dan, what the hell were you looking at during the season? But either way, no, I know. I'm teasing.
No, it's okay. But
hey, you're right, though. You're right.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza. Let's hit him real quick. He is a damn machine throwing the football. Yes, they protected him well because they were like a pro offense. They didn't do a lot, but what they did had answers to whatever you're doing, and the play might change. But protection was good, but his throwing ability is big time first pick of the draft stuff.
Right.
And two, I saw him next to your brother. Your brother's a big old dude.
He
And
is.
and I heard Christopher say this, that he's every bit of 6'5". He's a big guy. He's got some weight to him. He is mobile. People, no, he'll get outside the pocket and pick up some first down.
He's a better runner than people give him credit for, and you're right. He's bigger and stronger than people like to give him credit for as well. There's no doubt.
The last thing is his throwing motion. It's compact as hell.
Yeah.
He gets rid of it quick, but he gets rid of it quick with power.
Yeah.
And RPOs, Matt. I mean, if he can throw RPOs in the pros like he did in college, he's going to be the MVP of the league, maybe, or whatever. So,
I mean, the biggest thing is that like when you watch Fernando Mendoza play, it doesn't matter if it's Old Dominion week 1. It doesn't matter if it's Ohio State for the Big Ten championship game or Miami in the national championship. It looks the same.
Yeah,
it looks the same. And that to me is like a superpower in itself. He's not out of rhythm. I never saw a rep where I was like, oh my God, he's jitty. He's uncomfortable, right? Like, no, perfect. Like just totally stoic every single minute of every day that he plays. And like, even for this too, like some of the detractors out there, as we see Sims Complete streaming on Fubo, thank you to Believe Network and FanDuel for sponsoring us. We, like think about this. And here's a great example of it. Illinois, 21 of 23 for 267, right? Yeah. I mean, like, come on. Like not throwing a lot of attempts, but damn, every attempt he is crushing you. Michigan State, 24 of 28. Even Oregon, 20 of 31 on the road. Oregon was sending blitzes from outer space to get him. And still, through the pick 6, drove the team right down, won the game. No big deal. The game-winning drive against Penn State, 19 of 30 in that game. Penn State sold out to win this football game. Elijah Surratt was not in the game. Yes. There was Fernando Mendoza. Huge plays, even after getting sacked to start the drive. Huge throws down the field. And, that's something, too, that's like kind of funny. Like Orlovsky even mentioned it today as I was listening to him speak about it. He goes, the receivers jump off the page to me a little bit more than the quarterback does. And I was like, but the receivers only jump off because the quarterback is putting it in a place for them to jump off the screen. 100%. And the limited pass attempts to me make it even that much more special because it's not like some of these other guys where it's like 30 and 40 attempts and like, oh, he had a good day, he was 65%. It's like, no, they only throw it a little amount of times and he's got to hit all of them. Just like Ohio State, 15 to 23, 222, a touchdown interception. The interception was off of a screen where they read it perfectly, right? Alabama, 14 of 16. Oregon, 17 of 20. Miami, 16 of 27. So it's like these are some of the best defenses in college football. And the dude's playing some really clean, high-level football the entire time when the stakes are at its highest.
Hey, no doubt. I mean, everything you said, it's all true. Listen, it was in its own way a professional offense.
Right.
It wasn't like, don't worry, we're going to throw it every down so you can get back in rhythm. No.
Yeah.
They would run the ball and you go, damn, are they going to throw? Oh, there's a couple throws. Okay. And then and so many of them were into contested spots. The back shoulders, I mean, come on. It was ridiculous. That's the greatest example of back shoulder throws I've seen in college football in history.
The amount of separation that the Indiana receiving core is getting on a down-to-down basis is not as great, right, as people would think, considering his completion percentage and their production on the offensive side.
Right. So, hey.
And that's something to keep in mind, I think, big picture-wise. And ultimately, like, I mean, they went undefeated. Threw for 3,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But yes, the receivers popped off the screen more than he does. But either way, it is funny, and it's just kind of part of these things in the draft and all that. Everyone kind of has their darlings and their favorites and all that. I get it. It's part of it. It's what makes the competitive aspect of the sport fun. But, Mendoza, I think in a lot of ways, it's a little bit of just how he carries himself outside of football that I think honestly intimidates people. And I think that's what happens for even like Dan. I think he's just intimidated that he is like Dan Orlovsky 3.0 and can really throw it and ball out, So it's just like amazing how we evaluate these QBs sometimes.
You know what? That's a great point though, Matt, how he integrates into the locker room and right away, it's not about him.
Right.
And all that. So he's kind of got that part of the personality that you kind of want. Be a teammate, but sure as heck, don't try to stand out from them. Just be one of the guys. Then when you go on the field, then you're the man. That's what it's like. And tough. That's the other thing. You see his interviews and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But damn, he's tough. He's tough on the field. I watched him play Iowa. I was there. Man, he took some hits. Hey, Penn State was trying to knock his ass out for the whole season.
No doubt. Ohio State, first drive of the game, got decleated essentially, right? Got a Buckeye right into the sternum. So
it's funny, but you're right.
No, I mean, and I think about too, just as far as so what the Raiders already have too, right? It's Ashton Genty. All right, great. Good downhill runner. Love it. Okay. Trey Tucker, Jalen Naylor, Jack Betch. Excited about that. Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. These are guys that I think can play into the style that he already plays very well. I think Jack Betch, we're going to see a different side of him because Mendoza can throw the back shoulder, right, effectively to a big, strong guy on the outside like that.
Yeah, what you're saying is this. He doesn't need 40 throws to get it done. He can get it done in 25 throws. And that's a big deal to me.
Right.
Well, when it's there, he's going to hit it.
Right.
And it's going to be efficient, even in the pros. I'll be very surprised if we watch games and him throwing the ball all over the place with no accuracy. No, that's just not going to happen. Yeah. That damn motion of his, it's the perfect golf swing. That's what it is. It's perfect.
And they got Jackson Powers Johnson at right guard, right, going into his his second year now? Second or third year? Third year. Right, out of Oregon, who's a good young football player for them. They signed Tyler Lindenbaum, right, to an unbelievable free agent contract. And that matches, right, Tom McShay mentioned this, and I thought it was a great comparison too. That matches exactly what, Indiana kind of did with bringing in Pat Coogan alongside Fernando Mendoza, a veteran quarterback, veteran center, right, that was there at Notre Dame, comes over to Indiana. They have a great just rapport with each other, the leadership of that offense. And now the Raiders recreating essentially that exact same thing with Tyler Lindenbaum and with Fernando Mendoza in Las Vegas, which I think is great because centers are the best at communicating a ton of information in layman's terms for quarterbacks and what's going on. And I think that's going to be a great asset for them going forward. So just thought Tom McShay made a really good point with connecting those two players and what it means for the quarterback.
Very good. All right. I'm done.
All right, big guy. Hey, you the man. Appreciate it. Big guy, always a pleasure.
And so what are we doing next week? What'd you say? We're going to make a list. We're both going to have a list.
Yeah, you're going to do your top 5 quarterbacks. I'm going to do my top 5 quarterbacks. All right. Okay. Do you want to do more quarterbacks than that? Do you want to?
Well, we do the top 5s. The only thing that's bad about it is it's kind of some of the guys we did today. So
yeah, big guy. No,
I know.
Nobody cares. Yeah.
What's important, I care.
All right. Do you want to do 10 quarterbacks so you can get all your 10? Give us some new stuff we never heard before.
Well, yeah, we got to talk about some new stuff. Your brother, he threw a few names out there today, and I'm going to dig in there a little and just, because I'm doing all this other stuff trying to get the plays I like, and so I'm a little slow getting it done. But, we need to hit a few guys that we didn't hit today. That's for sure.
Yeah, so Christopher has an interesting list, and that's what we'll do. We'll compare his list maybe to yours, maybe to mine. Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, we got to get his top 10. And then secretly, you'll have yours and I'll have mine. I like that.
Okay. All right. Secretly, yeah.
I don't want to know who you guys are picking as your type. I don't want to see it. I just we'll do it live.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. All right. So we're jacked up. So next week we'll have our QB rankings. Christopher's appearance TBD. So good luck to Phil and Lindsay coordinating that. I want nothing to do with it. But either way, subscribe to Believe YouTube right now, where you can find all of the Sims Complete latest action on the Believe Sports Network. Brought to you by FanDuel. He's Phil Sims. I'm Matt Sims. We'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in, everybody.